There was a rich man from Nottingham who tried to cross the river. What a. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Guys, recently CG took it upon themselves to announce that they're going to be getting rid of a lot of our familiar off-meta counters, and uh, that it hit me hard because I've spent a lot of time developing those counters and using them, and I put a lot of Galactic Legends on defense, etc. And it's hard. It's tough to deal with it, and I guess what I want to do, guys, I want to I'll just be upfront. I think that there's reason to hope. I've been thinking about this a lot, as you might imagine. I mean, I make content for this game, and a lot of my content revolves around off-meta counters. And so, as you can imagine, it hits me harder than most, actually. But I do think that there are reasons for hope, and I'm actually looking forward to some of these changes, in fact. So why don't we jump into I'll put on some just like be real footage you guys can watch that as I just ramble on incoherently, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm not here to attack. I don't want to tell anyone that they're stupid for feeling the way they do. I do ask though that you think about what I'm saying and actually try to process it without just rejecting what I have to say. I mean that's the only way we can actually get it. That's the only way we can change. That's the only way we can actually have good dialogue. If you guys are stuck in the same place and can't advance the conversation, then I mean it can be a struggle for both of us. So let's move on. Let's move to this be real footage that I claimed, that I promised, whatever, and we can talk. All right, folks. So yeah, you guys have already seen this. If you watched some of my recent videos, you've seen this. So um, all right. So why will we be okay? Why do I think it's going to be okay? I guess just a tiny bit of background. What are they nerfing? They're getting rid of the trooper counter to Sith Eternal specifically. So like troopers can still counter a few different teams, including like Supreme Leader Kylo if Kylo doesn't have Hux. There's a few of them. They're getting rid of Vader versus Rey. They are just annihilating that, just totally eradicating it. Not going to exist anymore. Goodbye. Um, which that one's tough. And then the basically the any team that Jedi Knight Luke is countering, including Supreme Leader Kylo or like Rey using Luke Nukem. General Skywalker is getting nerfed as well. So those characters are all just getting dumped on. And like I said, I've spent a lot of time and effort developing those teams. I have a video now that's what 20K views in, which is huge for this channel. Frankly, like we, it's tough one to get, it's tough to get that many views, and I have that many views because that counter works really well, and it's not going to anymore, unfortunately. So, what's there to be happy about, Zareth? Like, why would you have hope? Well, first off, I tend to be a hopeful and I like to think resourceful person. Like it, I've played a lot of tournament games where it's like someone just shuts you down on something. You're facing a good player, and it's like, okay, I could just choose to loot, like to just have a bad attitude, tell everyone I deserve to win, but I got screwed, like, or I can just find a way around it and win, and that's how I tend to. I mean, that's how I react in life. I'm like, let's just win anyways. All right. So I mean, I tend to be a hopeful kind of guy, regardless, but you have to see things a little bit differently too. It took me a while to come to this realization, guys, but the off meta was dying anyways. They've been trying to get rid of it for a while. Like there's no Kenobi counters out there. If they have Kenobi and Cat, you can't take that squad out with anything less than a Galactic Legend anyways. That wasn't how it was working. And frankly, the Vader versus Rey thing, like we've seen, like this cool resurgence of it. I love that counter, Vader versus Rey, and you can use IPD, you can use Shore Trooper, but the only reason we're seeing a resurgence of it is because they expanded the number of teams that we have to take out. Not that it's just suddenly like more viable. We didn't get like new tech to make it work. It was just people didn't want to put their Jedi training Rays or really fast Finns with her. They didn't want to put their Queel, IG, and Bando characters in there. Like there's a lot of reasons why Vader is suddenly viable because we need more teams to place on defense, and therefore we need the characters that normally made that Ray squad good. We need those characters back in other squads. And so, even though Vader seems super viable right now, just a couple months ago, it was like, I never used Vader on Rey. Like one season, I don't think even used him once against Rey. Maybe once, and maybe it was like, yes, this is exciting. I finally get to do it. The fact is, that counter has been gone for a while, and no one has really complained about it that much because we have Sith Eternal to take out Rey, and maybe Sith Eternal versus Rey is going to be changed. It will be changed. I don't know whether that'll be good or bad or whatever, but that was going away anyways. The like I can't remember the last time any guild used the Jedi Revan, Jedi Knight Luke team to take out Supreme Leader Kylo either, at least in the high end guilds, because, I mean, sometimes, I guess, but. So the other team would just load up on tenacity on Hux. They'd put a ton of health on Red Trooper, and they'd put a ton of speed on Supreme Leader Kylo, so that old Ben would have to be like 285 to 300 speed in order to outspeed him. Like ludicrous speed on old Ben. Are you kidding me? I'm using some of my best mods on old Ben right now. It's nuts. It is super crazy. And even if that doesn't work, like you could have Phasma loaded with a ton of speed and mess up all the turn order and everything. So that counter was also on its way out. Like maybe now we'll actually get some interesting mod setups on Supreme Leader Kylo, because as of right now, it's just boring. It's like let me just put all of my best speed mods on him so he's okay. Or we'll just make him like mediocre and put some like offense sets on him. So hopefully we get to see some more interesting diversity in that. And then the Trooper one versus Sith Eternal, that was already gone anyways. People were putting Nest with Sith Eternal, and that shuts it down. Like that makes it inconsistent to the point of like sometimes some people will know exactly how to beat it, but for the most part, Nest with Sith Eternal was like, oh, womp womp, okay, I guess I'll find something else to kill her, or maybe I just won't, or maybe I'll two-shot her. So the off meta was dying anyways. That in my opinion is like it's just true. So there are still teams that can do off-meta things. You can still use troopers against Jedi Master Luke in certain instances. You can still use, honestly, if for that matter, troopers versus Supreme Leader Kylo if they don't have Hux. You can use Commander Luke against a few different teams if you have them all relicked up and really well modded, etc. Like that, some of these things exist. And honestly, Cat and Robot Legs Maul are going to open the field pretty wide for potential off-meta counters out there. Anyways, for instance, you can use Padme with Cat to counter pretty much any Kenobi team that doesn't have Cat. So, there's not they can't get rid of every single off meta. They're going to take away the most common ones, and that's fine, because there's still a ton of complexity, guys. There's so much complexity here, and it's actually going to grow, because now we have a ton of different moving parts. We have which GLs are going to counter other GLs, and how are we going to, like, Supreme Leader Kylo beats Rey, and that's great, but you get 47 banners. That's not efficient. It's probably not worth it. So how do you take out Rey? Do you use Sith Eternal? If you use Sith Eternal, what if they have Kenobi in the back? You don't have Sith Eternal to take out that Kenobi. How cheap of a squad can I use with a GL versus a GL to be able to use those other squads to clear the other teams? People say. One thing that I keep hearing, one fallacy that people have been spouting lately, and I feel frustrated by this, because this is something that I've been doing too. So, I mean, I've had this fallacy as well, but My alt I've been building to just have a big game hunting, like kill Galactic Legends without having any of my own. But 3v3 was the huge glaring problem here, right? So, what there aren't consistent 3v3 counters to GLs with off meta. There just aren't. There are a few just like random, like, oh cool, my opponent plays something dumb, and I'm gonna just slap their wrist for it because they like you stupid questions get stupid answers. I've always loved that, and um, people who play stupid games get stupid prizes, whatever. Like, you know, like trying to quote things and then misquote them. That's what happens. So, anyways, like trying to counter the off to counter 3v3 with the off meta is folly anyways. It is just folly. Like, there's no consistent way to do it in 3v3, and so people who were saying they didn't have a GL, they were just going to plan their whole account around off metas. 3v3 was already screwing you. You were already just not doing well, or not. You were like on your destination. Your destination was going to be not pleasant. It wasn't going to be fun. And so like we've been countering GL versus GL in 3v3 for a long time. And whereas I know that a lot of people don't like 3v3, the fact is it's still a viable game mode. Like, it's still competitive. And so, and people who were saying things that, and I think this is more of a valid argument, people who were saying, uh, well, shoot, I have two Galactic Legends, my opponent has four, I can't win. It's not pleasant, certainly. I agree with that, but there are ways to win. There are absolutely ways to win. If they've invested four Galactic Legends, that means they have a ton of dead weight. And if you only have two, that means your roster is probably pretty lean. You can probably set a defense to the point that they can't clear you unless they keep some GLs for offense, in which case it evens the field for you to be able to take them out. So I guess all I'm trying to say is it's not, this game isn't like perfectly balanced or whatever, but it's also not to the point that if you have more GLs, you auto win. Like, that doesn't work. People say, "Oh man, I only have four, or I only have two. My opponent has four. I can't possibly win because he's just gonna put all four on defense, and I can't win." It's like, put all four on defense. So you place a tough defense too, and just plan on clearing half the board. I guarantee. Like, it'll be a match. It won't be fun necessarily, but you can win. And in the meantime, start getting caught up on your GLs. I think that's what you're gonna have to do. My alt is scrambling like crazy to get Jedi Master Luke right now, because that's the way you win. I mean, I've played a lot of games in my day where, I used to play a tabletop miniatures game, and I went to big tournaments, and it was like, sometimes people would bring things. I played at a really high level, and I'd play top players from around the world, and I'd be like, wow, that tech just totally screws the thing I was planning. Like, my whole game mode is, I'm just screwed. My army is irrelevant in this case. And the option was I could just give up and whine about it. And I'm not saying that everyone here is whiners. I'm not saying that. But in that circumstance, I could give up and just like throw in the towel. Or, I mean, usually I was like, or I can just try to win. Like, why can't I just got to change the rules a little bit. That's all. Got to change my perspective. And so, that's what's going on here. I'm trying to get to the point where, I want to win. I want to win at this, even though the circumstances aren't great. So there's so much complexity, though, guys. So many questions. Like, who counters General Skywalker now? Now that he's standing up after 5 turns, does Commander Luke still take him out? Maybe, because he's got other debuffs, in his kit that maybe makes Luke more resilient to him or something. That's probably the case. Who knows? We'll find out. But if he's anywhere near as strong against non-GLs as he is now, it's like Commander Luke's just gonna get blown away. He's just gonna get taken out by his dad, and it's gonna be funny. And if that's the case, can we use a mirror against General Skywalker? We don't know. Can we use a? Can we use? I don't know. Does the mirror work for like consistent banners? those banners are going to be pretty bad. Probably you're going to want to use a Galactic Legend to counter those. And if you do use a Galactic Legend to counter General Skywalker, then how are you going to counter all the other GLs that might be hanging out and waiting for you? No one knows. Like, if you place all 5 GLs on defense, how are you going to be? How are you going to do on offense? If you place 0 on defense, then uh, like your opponent's going to have an easier time taking you out, and it's going to turn into an efficiency match. So just saying that it takes away from the complexity of the game, like the answer isn't going to be just keep all 5 GLs on offense. That's not the answer that it's going to be. That's not the correct one. You guys can answer it if you like that if you want, but the truth is, like, I'm going to still be placing some GLs on defense, and if that's the case, what happens if my opponent decides to put all 5 on defense, and I suddenly can only counter 4 of them? What teams do I have developed? What strategies do I have developed to multi-shot these GLs to be able to still win with off-meta teams? So we're still going to have off-meta teams. It's just going to be 2 shots, and sometimes just 1 shot, depending on what we've developed. And so tons of complexity. Like, where do we put our Galactic Legends if we are placing them? Which ones are the most expendable? Which Galactic Legend are going to get the most banners consistently against other GLs? There's a ton of complexity, and I think that it's going to be interesting. Like, other complexity, like, what is Zareth's favorite color? What is the capital of Assyria? Tons of different things that we can just ask. So, that being said, it still does suck. I don't want to change. It's uncomfortable for me. The game was headed there anyways. It was basically already there, in my opinion. And if people have chosen to become angry about it now instead, you're accustomed. You're absolutely not accustomed, but I mean, you are accustomed as well. But you're entitled to your anger if you want to choose to be like that. I guess I think that the game is going to stay as interesting as it has been. I really do. And I'll change my mind if I come across a different opinion or a different truth or whatever. But for right now, I think we're going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay. Let me look at my notes and see. There's probably something else here I missed. So, um, yeah. So other than just being able to take out GLs consistently, how are we going to be able to take out those B teams really consistently and cheaply? Like, suddenly it's like, okay, well, Jawas are a good example. Uh, Jawas will kill a few different teams out there. Like, maybe they'll kill General Grievous or something, and maybe that's too expensive because Jawas tend to lose a lot of banners. But, like, that kind of off-meta counter could really surprise someone and really tilt the balance of a match to your favor. And, being able to take out those B level teams is going to be super duper important, and A minus level teams for that matter. Um, there's going to be a lot of complexity. So, meanwhile, let's talk for just a minute. People are concerned about the gear crunch as well. We're going to Relic 9, and Crumb, in the interview, he was like, "Oh yeah, like, I hope that once, I can't tell you guys anything right now, but once we get to the point that we can announce it, everyone will just be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, like that, okay, and." I don't believe him, frankly. So he made it sound, at least, like it's going to be easy to get Relic 9. And okay, so I don't think he's a liar. I think that he has to represent things in a certain way because of who he works for, and that's understandable, right? Like, it's frustrating at times because it doesn't feel like we're getting a straight answer. But uh, here's the thing, guys. Relic 9, I don't want it. I really don't want it. Because there's a ton of characters I want to get to 7 and 8 right now. And 9 is going to just require more of the same. Unless they totally shift and they, like, start requiring totally new mats and don't double dip and require old. Which they always have required old, so why wouldn't they? But here's the truth that I have to break to you guys. You want to alleviate the gear crunch. You want to get rid of the bottlenecks. I mean, it's miserable. I don't like them either. But at the end of the day, that's what this game is. That's what they designed it around. It was bottlenecks. They've had that from the very start. They have no intention of getting rid of bottlenecks. If they get rid of a bottleneck, they're going to replace it with a different one. That's my guarantee. The second they stop having bottlenecks in this game is the second that this game is going to start tanking like crazy, because people aren't going to spend all that money on gear that they can just get easily. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I I fail to see how this game works without gear bottlenecks. I just think that that's a basic part of their core beliefs in this game. Like, now, do I think that the gear crunch is a little bit ridiculous right now? I actually do. Like, the fact that I can't get any bronzium wiring at my level, like, I think Solo was saying he can farm like 30 bronzium wiring a day, even with refreshes. Like, that's ludicrous. That is nuts. It is terrible. Like, 30 isn't even enough for one relic level on one piece, on the second lowest piece. And so I think they do need to rebalance it and address some of this stuff. Like, they give us a new gear level, and every character theoretically needs those gear levels, and uh, and then they're like, oh, well, here's a pitiful amount of gear every couple days. Like, it's not keeping up, really. It like, there's no catch up mechanic for gear. There's catch up mechanics for stars. You can farm them all the characters all day long, but then they just sit there at gear 8 and don't do anything. They do need to address the gear, but I mean, I I guess at the end of the day, what do you expect? This game is all about the gear crunch. That is in almost like that's maybe the most central aspect to this game ever. It's resource allocation and being able to actually use them in a way that's going to work, well for you. So, all right, guys, that's probably all I have to say. I think that this game still has a lot of complexity to offer. It's going to have a lot of complexity to offer. We're going to get a new ship. We're going to have a new Galactic Legend. So we'll have 6 total available. There's going to be all these farming strategies, all of these different things. And I'm going to be in the center of it. So, guys, please hit that like button, hit the sub button. If you haven't already, please, would really appreciate it. Free way to support the channel. Really appreciate you guys helping me with that already. Mounting the algorithm is not something we can all do. Something we can do, something we all need to do together. Wow. All right, we're ending on an awkward note. But, guys, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. And I think the community can too, if we give it a shot. Honestly. Let's try. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Am I a CG shill? Time will tell. Though I will say, no, they haven't put me up to it. This is all honestly derived. So, goodbye for real now.